there are a lot of people who see the tactics being used by ICE as not only just bad police tactics, but completely offensive to them. Grabbing little children on the way to school, pulling mothers and pregnant mothers out of cars, leaving small children in the back seat with the engine running on the road, things like that. And Trump's approval rating in the most recent credible poll is about 32%, with a 58% disapproval rating. His numbers are falling.
Let's talk now to David Cay Johnston, the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and author of The Making of Donald Trump. Mr. Johnston, a good afternoon from us here in London. First of all, what do you make of President Trump's response to the death of Alex Pressy? Do you think it will be something that he comes to regret?
Donald doesn't regret. Donald, in his own mind, doesn't make mistakes. Everything he does is perfect. And for the nearly 40 years I've known and covered Donald, I've seen him make only one admission of a mistake. He said he never should have left the White House in 2021. So he's not going to regret this. It's just not his nature.
Is it a watershed moment, though? Mr. Pressy was carrying a gun that he was permitted to carry. He was engaged in a protest he was allowed to be engaged in. Both of those are written in the Constitution. He was an intensive care nurse. Within hours, he was being called an assassin by the Trump administration.
Yeah, the Trump administration supports these U.S. Supreme Court decisions we have in the U.S. and the local laws that say anybody can carry any kind of gun anywhere, concealed or open, depending on state law. And some of the most liberal gun laws in America are in Minnesota. The gun carried by this nurse was under his coat and not accessible. It was removed by an ICE agent when the nurse went to help a woman who had been gratuitously thrown to the pavement by ICE officers, and he went to render assistance. They took the gun from him when they realized he had one under his coat, and then he is shot in the back of the head, and there are 10 shots fired. As someone who's written a lot about police tactics, got a nearly perfect score in LAPD combat, pistol combat training. This is shocking. That's not how law enforcement behaves. And of course, Keith Ellison, the elected attorney general, has said that he is pursuing a criminal investigation. And if the facts warrant it, anticipates that the shooter is going to be convicted and sent to prison.
Yeah. What do you think will happen in the meantime?
Well, they're going to continue these provocative efforts. Now, there have been two very interesting developments here. One is a letter from Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, saying that ICE will be withdrawn if certain conditions are met. And one of them is giving the federal government access to Minnesota voter rolls, which makes it clear this is not about removing people who are in the United States illegally and are subject to deportation orders. A number of people who've been grabbed, include U.S. citizens who've been deported, removed from the country, and others who have committed no crime, who've been in complete compliance with the law and have limited permission to be here. The second important development here is that the Trump administration is prejudging all of this. And the signal they're sending is that our agents are immune from any accountability. They can do whatever they think they should do, and we're going to back them up. Normally, the leader of a political unit would say after a troublesome shooting, well, we have to find out all the facts and then we will act appropriately. Here, they are issuing statements at variance with the facts and clearing people before there can be any investigation.
And this point about who actually makes up the ICE workforce, I mean, there are growing questions, aren't there, across America about who these people actually are. That doesn't go away, does it?
No. And presuming that we get back our democracy in America, because we've been living, in my view, under a dictatorship since February of last year when Donald declared himself, as I warned as early as 2011 he would do. But assuming we get our dictatorship back, we will eventually find out who these ICE agents are And you can be virtually certain that they are going to include convicted wife beaters, domestic violence, other crimes, and people who were pardoned by Donald Trump after the effort to overthrow our government on January 6th of 2021.
But given everything that you've said there, does it still hold true that it doesn't damage Trump?
Oh, Trump is being damaged very heavily by this. There are two wedges that are pulling people away from Trump. One of them is his bellicose statements that would get us into foreign wars when he promised no more of these foreign entanglements. That's an important element to many people in the MAGA base, which is, by the way, only 20 or 25% of American adults. Secondly, there are a lot of people who see the tactics being used by ICE as not only just bad police tactics, but completely offensive to them. You know, grabbing little children on the way to school, pulling mothers and pregnant mothers out of cars, leaving small children in the back seat with the engine running on the road, things like that. And Trump's approval rating in the most recent credible poll is about 32%. With a 58% disapproval rating. His numbers are falling. That does not mean, however, that will put the Democrats back in control of the House of the Senate. The American Democrats have a long history of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
So given all of that, and this is a man who ultimately cares about his popularity and his power base very much, why do you think, David, that he allows his administration to badmouth dead people? J.D. Vance in particular, Kirsty Noem has joined in too. There doesn't seem to be a connection between him stating, yes, there will be a review, and the immediate response that comes from other people purely directed at making people believe that these are criminals who've been killed. It doesn't add up at all.
No. Well, disregard for others is a hallmark of Donald Trump throughout his career. Whether he's cheating investors or even gamblers at one of his casinos, not paying bills or anything else, attacking John McCain, who was shot down in the Vietnam War and served time in a prisoner of war camp. Attacking other people, you're not legitimate, you don't matter, is just a hallmark of Donald, who regards himself as special and unique, and he alone can save us, his words, not mine. So this is not surprising. Donald believes that he is imbued with special powers and that he should run the whole world. And in fact, when I said that he believed that in 2011 and some people mocked it, lo and behold, in 2025, he said it in an on-the-record interview with the Atlantic magazine. So Donald is seeking here absolute power. The effort by ICE is clearly designed to inflame the public, to create a circumstance that would allow Trump to suspend the right of habeas corpus, the right to be brought before a magistrate if you're seized, and to impose some version of martial law under the Insurrection Act. The demonstrations so far, as I've seen them on television, and I've covered, I can't tell you how many demonstrations in the last 60 years, appear absolutely normal and peaceful, but they are so determined, Fee, that they sought arrest warrants, the federal government did, for 8 people who invaded a church whose pastor is an ICE agent. Dumb move strategically or tactically, but at worst, disorderly conduct. The judge magistrate who heard this matter only approved 3 of the 8 requested warrants, whereupon the Justice Department said, no, you must issue these, which means the judiciary is not independent, and said that it was a matter of national security. So they're willing to say if you go in and disrupt a church service to yell at people and then leave without hurting anybody, just exchanging hot words, that you are a national security risk. And there are many videotapes now, cell phone videos of people where ICE agents say to them, you're now a domestic terrorist. We got your identity. We know who you are. This is an effort to suppress freedom.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. That's David Cay Johnston, the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. He is also the author of The Making of Donald Trump. I will come to some of your thoughts about this in a couple of moments' time. I will start with just one quick one from Mary, who says that's another American telling the truth.
Yeah, what's very challenging about this story is Donald Trump's given no time frame for when those ICE officials might actually leave. He just said, at some point we will leave. They've done a phenomenal job. That's what he said to the Wall Street Journal. And yet Mary messaging in to say, look, another American telling the truth. But you just get a glimpse already at this point of how divisive this is. Chris says this is President Trump. You may dislike him on your left-wing show, but afford him and the office some respect. You may be aware he won a big victory at the election. Mike said, what is really frightening is that Trump cannot backtrack on ICE as he'll look weak to the MAGA movement. That could affect his midterm results. He's painting himself into a corner where his only option is to double down and escalate. He has no choice.
I think what's very striking about this, which hasn't appeared in previous edicts in the Trump administration, is just what the people of Minnesota have been trying to say, which is we don't know who these people are who've come in to police our community. We don't know their identities. They are not under the same kind of rigorous, and you can debate whether or not that happens normally in America, officialdom that other police forces might be. You know, the evidence against them is being filmed by other people. It is not on their own cameras. It does seem to be a slightly parallel universe. That's not me saying it. That is the protesters of Minnesota who don't want these people in their community.
And the protesters saying, we cannot be sure, the protesters saying this, that these officials are keeping the law.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why you see thousands of them out on the street protesting, despite the fact that the temperatures are quite so bleak, as you mentioned, Fee.